is engagement preparation. That portion of the process involves basically everything that you would do up to and including the first interview with the client. Um, Reviewing as much information as you can about what you know about the client going in, and basically from that try to use as many resources as you can, gather them, and gather that information, gather those resources for the purpose of helping the client as much as you can from what you know before you meet with the client. The next stage would be assessment. Assessment and contracting could be structured, could be semi-structured, it could be totally unstructured. As far as assessments go, basically that's getting the initial information from the client. Why are they there? How did they come to be there for the interview? Are they seeking help? Were they referred for help? What do they need help with? If it's a structured assessment, depending on where you work, you might have a specific set of questions that you just ask and they answer, and you use that as your assessment. A variation of a structured and unstructured, which would be semi-structured, where you have some specific questions outlined to ask from the beginning, but you also maybe, depending on their answers, follow the client's lead and go from there. Or totally unstructured, where you totally follow the client's lead, asking open-ended questions, finding out what they would like help with, and going from there. Next stage will be intervention, or like a treatment plan or strategy that you develop with the client. It should be together with the client, short-term, long-term goals, things that the client would like to achieve, things that the client needs help with, barriers the client might be facing to get to where they want to be. What do they want, and how can we get from where we are now to where they want to be, and how can I help you? Evaluation and termination will be the next stage, and basically that would be the process of helping the client. It's ongoing. Evaluations are not something that happen at the end, or just at the end, or just at the beginning of an interview process. They are ongoing, and they are constantly changing, maybe depending on developments with the client, or attaining goals that you set and moving forward with new goals, setting new goals. It's an ongoing process that you go through with the client, leading up to and including the ending process or termination process, where you might start to wind down your meetings with the client because they're coming to an end for whatever reason, or that they're successful and they don't feel that they need any help anymore. And the last that would lead into like follow-up interviews. The last concept would be following up with the client after everything is done and you have ended your meetings with them officially or whatever. You might follow up with the client maybe 6 months, maybe a year down the line, maybe more often, but with the intention of reinforcing what you work together on, and checking on their progress, checking if there's anything else they need help with, and letting the client know that you're available if they ever need any more help in the future. Next question I have, what helping processes are involved in the stages of social work practice? A lot of them, asking open-ended questions would be the big one that I think is the most important, because helping a client, the process of helping a client in a social work setting, you need to know what a client's problem is, and you can't know that without asking them. Sometimes people don't know specifically why they're there in front of you or what their problems are, and asking open-ended questions is a great way to maybe find out together how you can best help a client. Empowering the client, actively listening to the client, expressing empathy, relating to the client, validating the client's story, relating to the client, like I said, maybe even through using yourself, if it's a personal experience that you've had in your life that is similar to what the client might be going through, that you can tell the client, help them relate to you, and you relate to them, and better help them through the process. Again, like I said, empowerment and strength perspectives are very useful in helping client, depending on their situation. Again, sometimes building them up is a great way to move forward and get more confidence built up and be able to help them more be able to achieve their goals. Define the roles of social workers in modern society. There's so many roles of social workers in modern society. The spectrum of careers or jobs that they can have is really broad, and basically, from what I read and read in the book and read online, they almost all share the same thing in common, which is helping to affect a positive change, in the lives of the people who come to them for help, however they end up coming to them for help, and whatever field they come to them for help in. Some of the specific career jobs that I found were in social work policy and research. Mental health, substance abuse is a big one. Another big one is children, family, youth services, and in schools, social work. Social workers who deal exclusively with elderly populations, military veteran populations, war vets, people suffering from PTSD, that sort of thing. Specifically medical and health-related social work, psychiatric social workers, and also hospice social workers who deal in hospices and palliative care settings. People who are, families who are dealing with losing a loved one, the loved one themselves who's terminally ill or whatever. Very, very broad spectrum of very broad spectrum of roles that social workers can fill in society today. How would an effective social worker plan to assist individuals with enhancing day-to-day social functioning? I think an effective social worker could best assist someone with day-to-day social functioning by, again, first finding out from the person what is inhibiting them from successfully functioning as they are. Asking open-ended questions, asking questions that are probing, so that you can get the information you need to give the person the help that they need. If there's a barrier or barriers that are specifically standing in the way of an individual being functioning in society, whether it be physical disability, mental disability, financial problems, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, family issues, abuse. It could be so many different things, so you obviously had to find that out. But once you did, it would be also effective to, again, set goals, plan goals to work towards with that client. Like, find out what it is that they want to accomplish and how you can help them get there, and then goals that you can both work on together to get them where they want to be, and again, use all the resources available to you depending on what field of social work you might be in. There's so many different non-profit and different resources that people can get, like for transportation or to find jobs or to get medical assistance, things like that. Just get all the available resources you can, put them in place so that you can help the client as best as you can to become a functioning member of society. How does social workers demonstrate effective listening and communication skills during interviews? There's very many ways that happens. Verbal and nonverbal communication are big. Sometimes what a client doesn't say can be just as important, if not more important, than what they do say. How they say it, the tone of voice they say it in, the facial expressions, the gestures, of the client, as well as you as an interviewer, are very important. You know, and another very important thing is cultural awareness. What might be okay in one culture or respectful in one culture might be not okay or insulting in another culture. And awareness of that is crucial, because obviously if you insult somebody, you're not really going to be an effective communicator with them. Like, trust is important. Obviously building trust. That you can do this in a number of different ways, by the tone of voice you have, relating to the client, validating the client. It's something as simple as your physical appearance, the way you're dressed, the setting in which the interview is taking place. Is it professional? Is it a place that's comfortable? Those are all very important also for communication. Listening for themes, patterns, and what the client's talking about. Is there a specific pattern developing in your interviews? Is the client constantly blaming themselves? Is the client constantly down on themselves? Is the client constantly playing the role of the victim, even in situations where they aren't? So there's a lot of ways that you can actively listen and actively communicate with a client in an interview. How do social workers express empathy in interviews? Again, there are very many ways that you can express empathy in an interview. First of all, conveying warmth and caring, a feeling that you genuinely care about the client, that they're not, that you're not just hiding behind a mask of professionalism. I kind of said that in the book. You can relate to them, then you should. Like a use of self, again, is a great way to help with the expression of empathy. If it happens to be something that you can relate to personally, and maybe share a story with the client that might be similar to what they're going through, that will be very effective expression of empathy. Just accepting the client, maybe not necessarily condoning what they've done or what they're going through, but accepting them for who they are, validating their story, being supportive in every way, sounds, gestures, phrases. That must have been hard. I can imagine what you're going through. And again, super important, cultural awareness. What is considered normal in one culture might be considered abnormal in another culture. What's considered, positive and respectful might be negative and disrespectful in another culture. And knowing this and being aware of it going in can greatly, it just set you up for success, because